bobbing up and down this couch and trying to get myself centered on the screen. Oh, I'm exhausted. I feel as if I've had a half-hour workout here, and all I've done is up and down and up and down. So there we are. Good morning, everybody. Yes, it is the 7th of November. I have a feeling, oh gosh, I know exactly. I've had this feeling all morning that something is happening on the 7th of November. And it just suddenly, you know how you have an epiphany, ha-ha, an aha moment? Well, guess what? I just had an aha moment, and it's my friend Kay's birthday. So happy birthday to you, Kay Warburton. Happy birthday to you, Kay Warburton. So I have to call her after the show to wish her happy birthday. So first of all, we have, as always, Grey Eagle, who is to my right side. We have Kachuro also sitting cuddled up next to me on the sofa, just as I like it, also to my right. And we have my lovely Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, everyone.
And Chris is going to be, what are you? You're going to be the facilitator today, or whatever it is we call you. Anyway, she's going to be sorting out all of your questions. Be patient with her, everybody. I'm going to suggest that you put in your questions. You know, the first wants to put the question in. We go sort of from whoever asks first. If at the end of this session you don't get your question asked, there's always next week, isn't there? Or there's Thursday, or there's our our webinar. And our webinar in a couple of weeks is going to be when you go into my website, which is rosemaryaltea.com. When you go into the website, you'll probably think to yourself, what does that mean then? The bottom brick, or taking down the wall, or whatever that is. Well, guess what? We, all of us, over the years, have had our own little bricks that we've built our own walls with, and we often build walls to the point where we find it difficult to communicate with other people. We find it difficult to trust other people. We find it, once that wall gets higher and higher and thicker, by the way, we find it very difficult to have relationships that are going to work, because we're either not willing to share, or we don't trust to share, or we only share a part of ourselves. And consequently, when that happens, relationships do fall apart, don't they? So the seminar that we're going to be doing on the 22nd is all about breaking down the walls, why they're there in the first place, how we can get rid of them. And I'm going to be giving you some exercises in how you can heal yourself. So you're going to be taking from this seminar a whole lot of things that you can do for yourself to heal yourself, and ways that you can understand all of the other people in your lives. And especially if you have a special partner or a mate who you feel can't talk to you, or doesn't talk to you, or doesn't understand you, we're going to be talking about all of that stuff. And that is our webinar, which is on the
21st.
I always keep getting it wrong. The 21st is a Saturday morning, and that's in a couple of weeks' time. And Chris will put the link up there. So if you want to find out more about it, you can either go to my website, rosemaryaltea.com, and just click subscribe, and you'll be on my mailing list. You're not subscribing to anything other than being on my mailing list, so we can inform you of what's going on. And there's a link there to click to the event, and where you can buy your tickets. Or Chris is going to put up the link, right, Chris? Did I see you doing it a minute ago?
Right. There's one up at the beginning, and then I'll do it again at the end.
Okay, so
and just to let you know, Reese is on watching.
So I have to say, before I say good morning to anybody else, hello, my darling boy. I love you. All right. So I promised Reese that I would tell a story today about his mama. And so here we go. So then, once upon a time, as all good stories must begin, I was in Italy, And I was on a book tour. And on this particular occasion, my daughter Samantha had come with me. And we went from city to city, from town to town. I did events, I did TV shows, I did all sorts of things. And I did lots and lots and lots of events in bookstores. So on this particular occasion that I'm going to tell you about, we were in Rome. And we were in a beautiful bookstore. It was sort of fairly narrow, but it went back. You know, one of those stores that you just keep walking back and back and back. And we had such a big crowd of people that, in fact, there were police cars at either end of the street, trying to keep the crowd controlled somewhat. And people were lining up around the block. It was a small store, but a huge event. And so the idea was that I would do the book signing, and then if there was time afterwards, I would perhaps tell a story or maybe give some messages or whatever Grey Eagle and the Spirit World decided. So I was sitting signing books, and people were coming in, and I was just signing books, and I would look up and say hello. And I also, of course, I had my translator with me because my Italian I only have a smattering of it, so I need a translator always. And the crowd outside got thicker and thicker, and the street was filled with people. And this lovely little shop had a huge plate glass window. And all of a sudden, I heard the manager of the shop, who was standing next to me, opening the books for me to sign. I heard her say something, to the effect of, "Oh my goodness." And I looked up, and this huge plate glass window was moving. You could see it from inside the store. It was going like this. It was moving with the enormous press of people. And we then heard some arguing, and people were accusing other people of jumping the line. And then a bit of a scuffle broke out because some people were getting impatient because they were waiting, and everybody inside the store was really worried now, because any minute now the plate glass window looked as if it was going to explode into the store. So my daughter put her hand on my shoulder and she said, "Don't worry, Mum, I'll go and see to it." And she grabbed the translator, and I wondered what on earth was going on. And she went outside, and the translator went out with her. And she'd said to someone in the store, "Do you have a box, a sturdy box, or a crate that I can stand on?" So somebody found her something to stand on. And she had a microphone, and she stood on this crate, and the translator had a microphone also. And my daughter started to not to shout, but in a loud voice to tell everybody, "Stop. You can just stop." And people were so shocked that they stopped their arguing, they stopped their fighting and scuffling, and they looked up at this person. They didn't know who she was. I think my daughter was about in her early 20s at the time. And she started to talk to the crowd. And she told them all who she was. And she said, "My mother is inside. And if she came out here and saw what you were all doing, she would be so upset that she would leave. Do you want her to leave? Because that is what will happen unless you behave yourselves." And of course, the translator was explaining to the crowd, who went very, very quiet. Many people hung their heads in shame. They did not want Rosemary Altea to think that they were the troublemakers. They did not want to break the window. They did not want to cause a riot. And we were, in fact, this close to something really bad happening. And so Samantha talked to them for quite a little while, and she calmed them all. And then she said, now I'm going to go inside and I'm going to tell my mother that you're all going to behave yourselves. And I hope you're not going to think, you don't want my mother to think that I'm not telling the truth. And so she basically warned them, if you don't behave, we shall leave. You will not get your book signed. You will not get any messages. So you can jolly well behave yourselves. And from then on, she came inside and she sat down next to me and she quietly said to me, okay, you can keep on going now. And that was the first time that I saw how strong my daughter was and how smart she was and how much she was supporting me in the work that I do. So we continued and we were there for a few hours, you can imagine, because I wanted to make sure that we signed everybody's books. And as we were winding down, this very, very tall young man came and knelt in front of me, actually got on his knees and knelt in front of the desk, because looking down on me was a bit, I had to stretch my neck to look up at him. And he put his arms on the desk where I was signing the books. And the translator was there with him. And then the manager of the store explained to me that this man really needed my help, and would I be able to help him in some way. So I asked him to tell the story, his story. But as he began to tell me the story, I put my hand up and asked him to stop. Don't say another word. Just let me have a look here, because sitting on his shoulders was this little fairy child. She probably was about 5 or 6 years old, but she was tiny. It transpired that this young man was married. They had a baby, and as soon as the child was born, the mother left him and left her daughter with her husband, and they never saw her again. She abandoned them. So he became this incredible father. And within a very short time, within I think a couple of years, this little girl became very sick. She had a cancer, but a certain type of cancer. And at some point, she was unable to walk very far by herself. So her father would carry her on his shoulders everywhere they went. Now, it wasn't the father telling me this story. It was this little 6-year-old child telling me, my daddy carried me everywhere, and I was very sick, Rosemary. And he carried me anywhere and everywhere, and he took care of me and he loved me. And as I'm recounting to this man what his daughter is saying, as you can imagine, the tears flowed down his face. And as you can imagine, the entire bookstore and everybody outside, there were microphones people could hear, and everybody outside was listening as this little girl told me her story, and the story of how she had a father who loved her so much, he gave up everything for her. He stayed home, he took care of her, he washed her, he fed her, and he carried her everywhere. And eventually, of course, she succumbed to the cancer and she passed. And then she told me how every day he woke crying, and every night he went to bed crying, and he could not seem to get on with his life because his daughter was his life, and he felt that he couldn't live without her. And then she started giggling and she said, will you tell my daddy that I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying with him. And he still carries me on his shoulders. And will you tell him, Rosemary, that you see me now sitting on his shoulders because he's very strong and he has very broad shoulders and he takes really good care of me. And I love him so. The father continued to cry for a while longer. Everyone in the store was silent, many people crying. It was one of those moments for me which was so moving and so heartbreaking and so joyful all at the same time. The heartbreak of this young man to be without his child, the love, the overwhelming love that he had for her, a father's love, that he would give up everything and focus on her and concentrate on her. And she was his whole life. And what she was trying to say was, it's not just a father's love for a child, it's the child's love for a father, or a child's love for a mother. Now I know that Reese is listening, and we say, I love you every day. I say, I love you, and he says more. And I say, I love you, and he says more. It's very hard for children sometimes to express what they're feeling inside. It was very hard for this little girl who was so sick to express when she was alive how much her daddy meant to her and how much she loved him. But yet, in amongst all of these hundreds and hundreds of people, all of these people needing something, wanting a message from their loved ones, through all of that, this little tiny fairy child, she shone out. She didn't shine out because she was a beautiful spirit, although she was. The reason that I noticed her was that her love shone out from her. The love of her father just made her glow. And you could see it. She didn't have to say, I love you. You could see how much she loved her daddy. And all the while I was recounting her story, she was stroking his hair. She was stroking his face. And I said to him, if you listen very carefully, she'll talk to you. And if you're very, very still, sometimes you'll feel her fingers in your hair, just as you used to when she was here with us. And if you're very, very still, you'll feel her fingers stroking your face, just as you used to when she was here with us, because she is still here with us. So many of us as parents, we take for granted the fact that our children are around. Sometimes they get a bit boisterous, and sometimes they get a bit loud, and sometimes we shout at them when we shouldn't, and sometimes we're not as patient with them as we might be. But those of you who have lost a child, and I do believe that it is the worst loss that we could ever experience, those of you who have lost a child would so many of you take back all the impatient times. You would take back all of those times that you shouted or that you weren't so nice. Being human, just being human. We would take it back and we would give our children everything we could. In my household, in the Altea family, as Reese likes to say, we make sure that we tell each other every day, several times a day, I love you. And even though it's become a thing, and even though it's a little bit flippant sometimes, and even though sometimes we say it, I suppose people think, well, just because we say it and it's become a habit, it is very important to me, and it's very important to the Altea family that we say that we love each other every single day, that we nurture our children, that we're patient with them as much as we can be, and that we love them. I don't know how those of you who have lost a child, I do not know how you get up in the morning and how you face the day. I'm only proud of all of you for being so strong and so wonderful. It has to be the most devastating thing. But in this small bookshop in Rome, with this little girl sitting on her daddy's shoulders and explaining to us all what it truly means to have a father's love, what it truly means to have the love of a parent, as she explained it all to us, it broke my heart, but it made me joyful that she was able to tell him, I'm not going anywhere, Daddy. I'm going to stay on your shoulders until you come to me. At the end. I hope Reese liked that story, because I think it's a lovely story. It's the story of a love a daughter has for her father and the love that the father has for the daughter. It also reminds me of the love that I have for my darling boy, the love that his mama has for him. But it also reminds me joyfully the love that he has for us too. Okay, Chris, did you like that story?
Get the tissues out, right?
Yes.
So most importantly, Reese wanted you to know that Mama is listening
Ooh.
and that he says, I love you more, Mosey.
No, actually, darling, I love you more. And here we go, Chris. We better cut the conversation because it keeps going on and on.
Yeah,
And
so
his mama can tell him more about that story and how it was that she came with me and we traveled all over Italy together with her supporting me. So, you know, a daughter's love for her mother, a daughter's love for her father, and our love for our darling boy, and on it goes. We're having a bit of a love fest, really, aren't we?
that's not a bad thing. There were a few comments about brave Samantha,
Oh, yeah, she was very brave. Yeah.
and that was from Maggie. And Michael says, I know that's right, Samantha. Put them in their place. Beautiful story time yet again. And Mark says, I love the power of voice from the heart of Samantha when
Yeah.
addressing the climate of people. I loved hearing this story. The power of love and willful determination of a child to share a story like this.
Yeah.
Healing happens, and those who witness this story are forever changed. Just like you changed me, Rosemary, the first time ever I saw your face on the Oprah show for the debut of your first book.
Oh, my
Much love
gosh.
from Tulsa.
Oh, Mark, you're lovely. I love you getting your comments.
Suzanne says, oh, I'm crying. Such a moving story about the father and the daughter. You can feel the love.
Yes, it was
Um,
very hard. You know, I don't know if people understand this, but as a spiritual medium, I encounter many difficult situations, and some of those situations really do break my heart, and I have to grit my teeth not to be blubbering with everybody else. Unfortunately for me, my job is to be strong and to give the messages and to not indulge myself. But so often, and occasionally, you'll see when I'm telling a story, a little tear jerk here and there. But my job is to be strong for everyone, and my job is to be strong for those in the spirit world. And if I am to get or to allow my emotions to overflow in the moment, I wouldn't be good for anybody. What I actually very often do, I actually wait till nobody's looking. or I go to the bathroom and have my cry then. It's impossible not to be moved by so many of the stories and by so many of the experiences that I've had over the year. But it's also impossible not to be grateful to have been the one to be able to give these messages. And so, I don't know why they chose me. I have no idea why they chose me, because I know how difficult I can be. But I do thank God for the opportunities that I've been given through my life. Okay.
Karen says, lovely lady, story warmed my heart.
Good. Well, hopefully, especially with everything that's going on, gentleness, love, kindness, we need to be reminded of these things. We need to be reminded that no matter what is going on in our lives, and no matter how anxious we may become, or how angry we may become, or how frustrated, etc., that, if we could just take a moment, if everyone on this planet could just take a moment to reflect on how important love is and to show love. Um, there are so many people I encounter who say nobody loves me. Well, get yourself out there and do those things that that people will love you for. Be that person that other people want around. Go volunteer in the local children's hospital. That's what I always say to people. Go and volunteer. Go and read to a blind child. Go and sit by the bed of a child who is suffering and just wants a little fairy story. Or if you can't make them up, I'm a good storyteller and I make up stories all the time, both for Reese and also for my daughter. Over the years, I've made up some phenomenal stories. But if you can't do that, get a good book and read a good book. There's so many things, and if you feel that you're not loved, and especially in this day and age with the internet and with all the different modes of communication, if you feel that you're not loved, maybe it's because you're not doing something that maybe somebody might love you for. And if you went on a regular basis to tell stories to children, they would love you for that. We love hearing you tell stories, or we love the fact that you come to us, or we love the fact that every time you come visit us we bring chocolate cake. Something. Do something. Don't have a pity party, and don't think, don't get yourself so involved in what the world is turning. There's not a thing you can do about it. There's not a thing that each of us as individuals can do to change what is going on in the world. I wish I had a magic wand sometimes. I wouldn't start with politics, and believe you me, I wouldn't start with COVID either. I'd go into the children's hospitals and I'd start there with my magic wand. I don't have a magic wand, but I do have magic. As Reese will know, the Altea family has magic, and that magic comes from love. And that's where I would start wielding my magic, because every time you hold a child's hand with love, you give them healing. So this is something to think about for the rest of the day, isn't it? All right, Chris.
All right. Michelle is on. She's asking, do you have any message from Gray Eagle for her?
Not right now, but that doesn't mean you should stop trying.
All right. Maggie says, my daughter's mother-in-law is telling them she made a great deal with a potential landlord for them, but I feel there is something hidden and it will go wrong for them. Could you tell her how it will go?
Well, first of all, Maggie, I'd be really cautious about this situation. You know, sometimes a great deal is too good a deal, and there are sort of little caveats behind the deal, and maybe people's expectations when they, sometimes when somebody gives you something that gives you a deal that looks too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And it could be that there are expectations tied to the deal. So just I would not be so eager to take the deal. I would check into it before I took it. If you feel a deal is too good to be true, it's generally too good to be true. Okay, Chris.
Barb saying, good morning, all. My question, when joining the spirit world, do they have to study or learn how to communicate with loved ones on Earth?
Oh,
My man of 20 years came back to me really strong. Haven't heard from him in a while now and pray he is still with me.
God, what a great question. Well, yes. Um, well, what happens is that when we pass into the spirit world, of course, we connect with our family, with our loved ones, but we also connect with a whole group of people who are able to help us, to steer us, to guide us, to help us to know, what the next step is, what we need to do to help us adjust. And there are many people in the spirit world who have left things unfinished or unsaid. And you all might want to think about that. Think about the things that you feel that you might want to say to somebody, or the things that you have left unsaid, or the situations that that you found yourself in that you don't like. Uh, don't wait until you've passed into the spirit world to regret them. Fix them. Um, if you haven't spoken to a sister in 5 years, then pick up the phone or just send her a text or something. If you've fallen out with your parents, just go fix it, would you? Don't wait. Um, if there are reasons that you've fallen out and you don't want to fix it, and you're happy not fixing it, and you're happy that if they pass, that it's not fixed, or that you pass and it's not fixed, then get on with your life. Don't start worrying or feeling guilty. Do something about the situations that you're in, because I see so many people in the spirit world who have left things unsaid and who desperately want to reconnect with their families, to tell them, I'm sorry, or I wish I'd told you more that I loved you, or so many times. And most especially from men, but sometimes from women too, I will hear a father say to his son or his daughter, I never ever told you I loved you, and that's my mistake, because I do love you. And although it's nice to hear, there are so many people out there who don't get the opportunity to come to see somebody like me, or they don't get the opportunity to hear from their loved ones in the spirit world, so they never really know, you know, did they love me or didn't they love me? So don't don't wait till till you die. I remember, um, I went out with somebody once who said, actually, I'd been to a hospital, I'd been to see a patient, and I'd been gone for at least 3 or 4 hours, and I came back. I was a bit tired and sat in a chair and sort of having a cup of tea or something, and this sort of boyfriend came around, and he said, oh, and we were talking about the patient that I'd just been to see, and he said, well, I've decided that when I die, I, I want to work with the spirit world, and do some really good things. And I looked at him and I thought, did I hear, is that did I hear that right? When I die? So I looked at him and I said, well, why would you wait until you die? Why don't you just get on with it and do it now? And I was sort of the end of the relationship, really, because I thought, what a weird thing to say. When I die, I'm going to work with the spirit world as well, or I'm going to do good deeds, whatever. So if you're thinking, any of you, you're bored, you're fed up, you don't know what to do, they do have online storytellers in many of the hospitals. So, and you don't have to be a great storyteller. You just have to know how to read. There are lots and lots of volunteer things that you can be doing: driving a bus, using your car, loads and loads of things to do. So, there you have it. All right, Chris.
All right, it's a long one, so just give me a second here.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, this is from Mark. I took a massive fall from my garage ladder back in November of 2014. I was removing a large tote of ornaments and realized it was much longer than I could handle. Ended up tossing it 10 feet to the concrete floor at which I lost my stepping and literally saw my life flash before my eyes
Oh
as I
gosh.
fell from 8 feet up.
Wow.
Um, I fell on my right side. I was on the third step from the top of the ladder and landed flat on the floor on my right side. I felt someone hold my body, face, hips, because I screamed as I fell to the cement floor, saying, "No." I was unscathed from any injury. I stood up after about 10 minutes, doing the hokey pokey, laying down to make sure nothing was broken. Was this my guardian angel G, my heaven brother, or my spirit guide Aldu? The next day, I had a hand imprint in black and blue on my inner leg. This has been a mystery and also a miracle I did not get hurt.
Well, you and I both know it's your brother, don't we? I think that's a really fantastic story. I've got one. Would you like one from me? So I was in, where was I? I was in one of the Greek islands anyway. And I was uh, I was doing a tour, and I had a group of people who were relying on me totally. I was their teacher for the week, and I got into the bath, but in this very nice hotel. But the shower was on the long wall, so you had to sort of stand instead of standing at the end of the shower. You just had to stand weirdly anyway. And I put the shower on, and my foot slipped, and I came flying backwards out of the bath. Somehow or another, my head avoided the enormous wash basin that was on the opposite wall, and I lay on my back, gazing up under the wash basin. I don't know how I missed it, and had my head cracked on there, I probably would have, been severely injured. And I can remember lying on the floor for at least an hour because I couldn't move. The breath was taken from my body, I have to tell you. And I have injuries to my back anyway. So I'm laid on my back, gazing up under the wash basin. I don't want to detract from your story, Mark. I'm just trying to say I've been there with you, and someone, of course, I'm sure it was Grey Eagle, someone was definitely taking care of me in that moment to make sure that I didn't crack my head and didn't do any serious injuries. It took me a good, I'm going to say a good 2 hours to, I had to sort of gently lay on my side and then find a way to crawl and inch my way from the bathroom into the bedroom. And I finally managed to get on the bed where I couldn't move. And eventually somebody found me. And I remember the next day, we had to walk up a very large hill, and my group were all around me, and I was taking them to visit some caves, and we were going to do some exercises, some spiritual exercises. I was going to show them how to listen and how to attune their senses, and I had somebody pulling me and somebody pushing me. So I managed to get up this hill. It was the side of a mountain. Actually, I managed to get up the side and I managed to get down. But I was aches and pains for days. Mark, I'm sure you were aches and pains for days. But sometimes it isn't so important as to who it was who saved you. Sometimes it's just important that somebody did. And you obviously were very well protected in that moment because you could have broken your neck, right? Okay, Chris, next.
Janet says,
I'm letting out all of my secrets here, aren't I?
okay, Janet says, "Hi, Rosemary. I'd like to know if all my training will be funded and if I'll have enough to live on until I'm done. Thank you."
I'm talking to Grey Eagle, and are we going to even answer your question? And apparently, yes, we are. So not all of your, not feel like a fortune teller doing this. Not apparently, but you need this, right? So you must need it, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it. Not all of your not all of your stuff will be funded. You'll have to find something, a little something. And what was the next? There was a second part of the question.
If I'll have enough to live on until I'm done.
Well, it depends how much you want to eat. Depends if you can find someone to share a room with. There are ways to do it, and yes, you can do it, and yes, it will work. It will be a struggle though, so, but worth it at the end of the day. And I think you've already decided that whatever it takes, that's what you're going to do. So just keep on doing what you're doing, my darling. Yes, next.
Maria Latanzio is asking, do you have a message from her mother?
Good morning, Maria. Oh gosh, we were just talking about love, and my whole room has just turned pink, and you won't know what that means, but I can tell you that it means pink is the color of love. The different colors, different shades of coloring have different types of energy to them, and the color of pink is the energy of love. But my whole room just turned entirely pink, and it's all for you. So lots of love to you, I think, from your mom. Yes. Yes, Chris?
Ozma says,
I'm just trying to get my eyes used to sort of get rid of the pink out of my eyes here. Sorry, go ahead. Yes.
that's not something I would want to do. I'd want to bask in that pink.
Yeah, well, it's, yeah.
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 All right.
Okay.
So Ozma says, hello, loads of love and blessings to you.
Hi, darling.
I would like to get some insight from Gray Eagle. Will I get any breakthrough in my coaching business before year ends? I really don't know what is holding back my growth. I desperately want to get back on my 2 feet. Thanks for the guidance.
Maybe a little bit too desperately, and maybe impatient. So I think that's what's going on there. So I think that things are already improving. Don't be in a hurry. There's plenty of time for this. So don't be in a hurry. Don't be impatient. You need to get well before you can, do anything else for anybody else. So please take time and be patient. It will work out as it should. It will work out actually well, I think. But if you try to rush it, you try to do too much too soon, you'll only halt the progress. So patience here. Yes, Chris.
Lucy from Florida says, Rosemary, we are all hoping and praying for our country at this very difficult time. Can you give yours and Gray Eagle's insight into how we can all remain calm and positive to get everyone through this very divisive time?
Well, Lucy from Florida, I'm in Florida too. I don't know whereabouts you are, darling, but we're having the most beautiful weather here. I'm staying positive. I actually, I have seen, even before it all began, the turmoil and the trauma and so on and so forth that is going on around us. I try to avoid politics whenever possible. And as far as the COVID situation is concerned, I'm perfectly well aware that it exists. Nobody's denying that. But I'm also perfectly well aware that there are people, let's say, not exactly truthful. Hospitals get paid more for a patient who dies of COVID than for a patient who dies of influenza. I don't know if you know that, but it happens to be a fact. And if you'd like to look it up, it's a fact. So this lends itself to maybe some administrations not being necessarily honest. Or it's amazing to me how many people who've had cancer for 10 years, all of a sudden, they take a turn for the worse, which they would have. before COVID, and all of a sudden it wasn't the cancer that killed him, it was the COVID. There's so much lying and cheating, and I find it abhorrent. I find it disgraceful. And I was talking to Greg Eagle about it this morning, about all the lies, all the cheating, both sides, everybody, it seems, who has any say in running the country right now is let's say not honorable, definitely not honorable, that's for sure. I was, talking to Greg about it, and he just simply said to me, God is watching. So I wouldn't want to be in the shoes of those people who don't consider the individual's rights, who want to manipulate and to maneuver in things that are going their way. I would not be in the shoes of people who are not honorable, that at some point we're going to have to face ourselves with God's light upon us. Good luck with that for all of you out there who are not so decent, not so honorable. But I guess nobody who is not decent and not honorable is going to take any notice of what I say anyway, are they? Because they're just going to shrug their shoulders and, hey, we're benefiting now, so what do we care when we die? Well, good luck with that as well. For all of you out there who are anxious, nervous, one of the reasons I told the story this morning is to absolutely highlight the things that are important, the things that we should focus on. Not the things that we can do nothing about, but the things in our own individual lives that we can do something about. There's this little saying that love conquers all, and the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, it does. I can remember talking to my daughter just a few weeks ago about life and life situations. And so I will tell you what I have told other people and what I will tell her. Sometimes it requires turmoil. It requires heartache. Sometimes it requires that everything we know and everything that we're comfortable is destroyed before the phoenix can rise from the ashes. The mythical bird, the phoenix. The Chinese believe that life as you know it can often be destroyed, and I think that this is what is happening and has been going on for some time. Life as we know it is being destroyed. Honesty, goodness, truth, all discounted as things that nobody really cares about. But there is going to come the day, not too long from now, when the phoenix will rise out of the ashes and the world will be a brighter and a better place. So for all of you out there who are focusing on the negatives, if you can remember my words, yes, there will be devastation, no doubt about it. Yes, things will get worse. Yes, there's no doubt about it. Just keep your head down, keep doing what you're doing, bring love into the lives of your family, bring love to yourself, bring kindness and goodness and honesty. Just hold on to those things, because those are the things that will really, truly help you and help you to survive. And wait for the rubble to calm, wait for the ashes to be, because then the phoenix will rise and truth will rise and goodness will rise and life will be a better place for all of us. Chris, do you have anything to say to that? Or to the person's question?
Well, I'm very comforted by what you say, because I have felt that for quite some time. And I do know, because I've written some articles on this, that the only way we can grow is through transformation, and we have to change as individuals.
Yeah.
As for, small little things you can do, I know in the midst of going into election night and things, I know people personally who were, very anxious and upset and, not able to sleep and not able to eat. And what my husband and I did is we took out a Hallmark movie. I mean, because really, you're not going to change the election or the vote. It's happening. It's all falling into place like little Tetris pieces. But what you can do is just look for little things you can do to calm yourself
Yeah.
and to find love and joy. And that's going to get you through moment by moment.
And to focus on the things that are truly important. Because really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's president. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many people contract COVID. You cannot die before your time. Not that I'm saying we should ignore these things, but we should make sure that we're protected and put things into perspective. Let's put things into perspective, can we? Focus on the things that you can change. Focus on the things that you can make a difference with. Focus on your children, because every time you're anxious, your child feels it. Every time you worry, your child feels it. Every time you get short-tempered or you get impatient because life isn't going the way you want it, your children are the ones who are affected by this. And children learn not from what we tell them, not from what we say, but from how we are. So focus on your children, because they are our true future, and make sure that they know and they understand what love is all about. Yes, Chris.
Barbara's asking, do you have any message for me from Karen? God bless you.
Not right at this moment, but I'm going to tell you, I'd love, Chris, we're talking about focusing on the important things. I know that it was your father-in-law's birthday, or
Yes.
is going to be your father-in-law's birthday, and you did the most amazing dinner. Briefly tell us about that, because I know that I mean, because it's family and Thanksgiving is coming up, and what can we do to make things better in our own small world? I'm going out this afternoon with my friend Mary Lou, who I rarely see these days. She's so busy with her family, with her grandson, so I'm just grateful she makes time for me sometimes. But I'm going out with her. We're going to go for a ride. If anybody in Florida is going out for a ride today, look for us, because we shall be on the road. We shall be traveling. I don't know what we're doing or where we're going yet, but we're going to just have some fun and just let go, shed the anxieties and shed all of the things that you cannot do anything about, and make sure that living in the moment is the most important thing. You could be worrying about who's going to get into government. You could be worrying about, oh, I don't want to die of COVID. You'd be hit by a bus. Then nothing matters, right, Chris?
Exactly. Yeah, I was really fortunate, everyone, because I have a friend named Rosemary Altea who loves to cook. And so in a conversation, I had said to her, listen, I've got to come up with a last minute birthday meal. Um, and my father-in-law loves salmon. What do you think I should do? So Rosemary, being Rosemary, in seconds came up with a full planning meal menu, told me what I needed to go out and buy and get. And then when I came home at the end of my day's work, she said, all right, set up the camera in the kitchen. Let's go. And ingredient by ingredient and inch by inch or half inch on the tomato cutting and mozzarella and basil and parsley and potatoes and all kinds of things. Rosemary led me through her meal, of which case it was well received. The rest of my family members absolutely wanted leftovers to take home, and it was such a success.
Yeah, but you're going to send us a photo, aren't you? You're going to put a photo up on my Facebook page saying, so anybody who wants to know. But more importantly, I think your father-in-law and his wife loved having the family around. So it's good food, good company, good anecdotes, and apparently good. What did you do? Mincemeat squares, right?
I did.
I love mincemeat. It's my favorite. We don't make squares, we make pies. But anyway, so you had a good time then, right, Chris?
Absolutely. And you're right. I think I notice this the older I get. You know, when you're a young child, you're looking forward to Christmas or a birthday for the gift that comes. When you get to be older and basically you've got everything in your life that you needed, you're looking again to what we should have been looking at in the beginning, which was, I just want my family to come. I want my friends to come. I want time spent. So it's not the gifts, it's the time spent together.
Yeah, and the connection and sort of and even if the food isn't so good, I know my food's good, but even if the food isn't so good, just being in company, being around company, and remembering the good times, remembering the times when you were kids, remembering all the positive stuff can really lift you up. And I'm going to suggest to all of you, and this is why I asked Chris, not for her to tell you all how what a brilliant cook I am, because you all know I'm a brilliant cook, right? I don't need anyone to tell you that. You know that anyway. But if you can have a chance this weekend or through the week, think about the different ways. Yes, that we're on sort of a lockdown and so on, but there are so many different ways that you can enjoy yourself with family. I know that my friend Karen and I, oh, she really, as we would say in England, she does my head in sometimes. She'll call me and say, I want to make a quiche, or which she did last week, the weekend before last, or can you show me how to make flatbread? And so we just get the camera. She's on her whatever computer or iPad, and I'm on mine, and we're in the kitchen, and the mother comes in and out from time to time. We're spending time together. We're not sort of breathing over each other. We're not endangering each other, but we're having fun cooking. And so I'm cooking at the same time as she's cooking. But you can do that with your grandson. If he wants to do some coloring, get a coloring book and do coloring with him. I'm teaching my grandson to play the piano at the moment. He's doing so well. We're learning to play Christmas carols. There are lots of things that you can do online and be together with your friends, with your family. So please, instead of focusing on the despairing things, I'd like you to think, what can I do? You can even have a meal together, you on your end, them on their end, and you can have a conversation. You can eat together. You can do all sorts of things together. So I'd like you, please, this weekend, all of you, think about the things that you can do to be together and enjoy together as families, as friends, and all of that stuff. Right, Chris?
So you have 2 minutes before 12 right now. I also wanted to mention that your new newsletter went out. So if people have not received it, it means you are not currently subscribed. So please go to the website and subscribe.
Okay, the website is rosemaryaltea.com, right? Is it all one word, Rosemary Altea?
Yes.
So it's rosemaryaltea, all one word.com.
Yes.
It'll take you straight to my website, and there'll be one or two little movies on there for you to watch. There's information to watch on there. Is the article I wrote on there?
Your articles are on Medium and LinkedIn.
So on Medium and LinkedIn, I think Medium is connected to LinkedIn, right?
No, two separate things, but
Oh,
your
sorry.
stories will be shared on both.
Okay. Anyway, so there are good stories in there, and I've got to write another story, and I'll do that this weekend, Chris, and let you have it. And so, are there any other? Let's have just another couple questions.
All right. Helen says, at the last webinar, you connected me with my sister. She was
Helen,
a
oh, yay!
she was a great cook, and now I realize she has been helping me in the kitchen. It is so lovely to have this bond across the realms. Thanks so much.
Oh, Helen, we were wondering how you were, because we did we did try to check in with you to make sure that you would allow us to do this, but there is a clip. If you go to rosemaryaltea.com, you'll be able to hear the interaction between Helen and I, and we knew how emotional you were, my darling. We hope you're feeling a little bit better about it, and we do hope that it was such a special gift to you, because you gave us such a special gift. And your question really was just exactly the right one to encourage your sister to It was such a good message, wasn't it? I love that. I love it. You know, every time I give a message, I'll just say this. I'm sorry, Chris, I'm taking time here, but every time I give a message, and it's like a little wow in there, and you think, wow, wow. And Helen, your message was that little wow about the water. And anyway, anybody who wants to look at that, go to my website. I think it's up there, right, Chris? You can click on it,
Yes.
and you can have a taste of the webinar, because through the webinars, of course we give messages. Of course we're going to be talking to the spirit world. Of course we do all of that in our webinars, as well as all of the other stuff. So just a reminder, our next webinar is on the 22nd, as we're talking about it.
21st.
Oh God, I've done it again. Oh, sorry. Just a reminder, my next webinar is on the 21st. You can get tickets at eventbrite.com. Chris is going to put up the link to, you know, as we're closing. So you just click on the link, or go to my webpage, rosemaryaltea.com, and you can click on the link there. When you go to my page, if you click subscribe, it just simply means that you are immediately put onto my mailing list. And so you'll get sent all of the stuff that we're going to be doing. And we're going to be doing quite a bit of stuff in the new year, new stuff in the new year. So watch out for that. I think, Chris, anything else before we leave, before we go?
Oh, you would still be here all afternoon answering questions, Rosemary.
Well, I do hope, my darlings, that you enjoyed the story today. I don't know if my darling boy is still on, or if he's probably playing with his trains. Maybe he's doing his piano practice. See that stern look that I'm giving him now? Maybe he's doing his piano practice. So thank you all for joining me. I'd like to say thank you to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is always here with us and always being, you know, sort of explaining, guiding, steering. I'd like to say thank you, Chris, for doing such a great job as usual. And I'd like especially to thank all of you who are watching, who join in with me, who enjoy my stories. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So please, all of you, have a very, very blessed rest of the day, and have a very blessed weekend, everybody. I shall be back on the Thursday morning at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time, and I shall be back next week with another story time. And I hope to inspire you as much as they have inspired me. All right. Thank you. Have a very blessed weekend, everybody. Bye.